Welcome to Dreamtale Sleep Stories. Tonight's reading is The Invisible Student. Settle into your bed or sofa and let your shoulders, jaw, and eyelids grow heavy. Inhale slowly. 1, 2, 3. And sigh the air away, allowing the day to fade into quiet dark. With every soft inhale, you invite fresh English phrases. With every gentle exhale, stray thoughts drift farther off. Behind my voice flows a gentle theta wave melody, renowned for guiding the mind toward deep relaxation. Soon the music will shift into soothing alpha wave tones, carrying you toward a calm shoreline of dreams. Keep your eyes closed, or follow the captions, whichever feels right. Simply receive the rhythm and resonance of the language. Deep in rest, tonight's phrases will take root like seeds, ready to bloom into stronger English skills with the morning light. When you feel settled, hold that unhurried breath and allow yourself to drift into the tale. The Invisible Student begins now, and when the story's final line has faded, the music will linger a little longer, carrying you gently deeper into sleep. The Invisible Student. Tom was a third-year chemistry student at Manchester University who always felt invisible in class. He was shy and quiet, and professors never seemed to notice him. One day, while working alone in the laboratory, he discovered a strange blue liquid in an old cabinet. The bottle had a faded label that read, "Invisibility Formula. Do not touch." Tom thought it was someone's joke from years ago. He carefully examined the liquid under a microscope and ran several tests. The chemical composition was unlike anything he had seen before. "This can't be real," Tom muttered to himself. But his curiosity was stronger than his common sense. He decided to test just one tiny drop on his finger. Nothing happened at first, but then his fingertip slowly disappeared. Tom stared at where his finger should have been. He could still feel it and move it, but it was completely invisible. After about 10 minutes, his finger slowly reappeared. His heart was racing with excitement and fear. The next morning, Tom couldn't stop thinking about the formula. He went back to the lab early, before anyone else arrived. He had made a decision that would change his life. He would drink a small amount of the formula. Tom measured exactly 5 milliliters into a beaker. "Here goes nothing," he said, and drank it quickly. It tasted like mint and metal. For a moment, nothing happened. Then he looked down and gasped. His hands were fading away. Within seconds, Tom was completely invisible. He looked in the mirror and saw only his clothes floating in the air. Quickly, he took off his clothes and put them in his backpack. Now he was truly invisible. "This is incredible," Tom said out loud, then covered his mouth. He could still speak. He decided to test his new power by walking around the campus. The first problem came immediately. The laboratory door was locked, and he needed his keycard. Tom realized being invisible wasn't as simple as he thought. He had to put his clothes back on to use his keycard, which made him look like a floating outfit. A passing student screamed and ran away. Tom quickly undressed again once he was outside. Walking across campus while invisible was strange and dangerous. People couldn't see him, so they kept bumping into him. "Ouch!" cried a girl who walked straight into Tom. She looked around confused, not understanding what she had hit. Tom decided to attend his morning lecture to see what would happen. Professor Williams was teaching organic chemistry. Tom sat in his usual seat, forgetting that no one could see him. When another student tried to sit down, Tom had to jump away quickly. The lecture was frustrating. Tom wanted to take notes, but his pen would float mysteriously in the air if he tried to write. He couldn't use his laptop either. It would look like a ghost was typing. He had to just sit and listen. After the lecture, Tom was hungry and went to the cafeteria. This presented a huge problem. How could he buy food when no one could see him? He couldn't use his student card without clothes, and he couldn't wear clothes without being noticed as a floating outfit. Tom watched sadly as other students ate their lunch. His stomach growled loudly, causing nearby students to look around in confusion. One girl said, "Did you hear that weird noise?" Her friend replied, "This place is haunted, I swear." Desperate for food, Tom waited until a student left their tray unattended for a moment. He quickly grabbed a sandwich and ran to a corner to eat. The sandwich seemed to float in mid-air as he ate it, then disappeared bite by bite. Several students saw this and started recording with their phones. "Look, a ghost is eating that sandwich," someone shouted. Soon a crowd gathered, all filming the mysterious floating sandwich. Tom panicked and dropped the sandwich, running out of the cafeteria. Behind him, he heard people screaming about supernatural activities. Tom realized he needed to be more careful. He decided to go to the library to hide and think about his situation. But even in the quiet library, problems continued. He accidentally knocked over a stack of books, which seemed to fall by themselves. The librarian looked terrified. When Tom tried to sit in a chair, it looked like the chair was moving by itself. A student who saw this ran out of the library, shouting, "The library is haunted! I saw a chair moving on its own." By afternoon, the entire campus was talking about the strange events. Social media was full of videos of floating sandwiches, moving chairs, and mysterious sounds. The university security was investigating what they called unusual paranormal activities. Tom felt terrible. He hadn't meant to cause such chaos. He just wanted to experience being invisible for one day. He decided to go back to his dormitory room to wait for the formula to wear off. In his room, Tom's roommate Jake was playing video games. Tom entered quietly and sat on his bed. Jake suddenly paused his game and looked around. "Tom, is that you?" he asked the empty room. Tom stayed silent, but Jake noticed the bed covers were pressed down as if someone was sitting there. "Okay, this is really weird," Jake said, standing up slowly. "If there's a ghost here, please don't hurt me." Tom couldn't help but laugh. Jake jumped and screamed, "The ghost is laughing! Help!" He ran out of the room, leaving Tom alone. Tom felt bad for scaring his friend, but the situation was becoming ridiculous. As evening approached, Tom was getting worried. The invisibility should have worn off by now. He had drunk the formula at 8 a.m., and it was now 6 p.m. 10 hours had passed. What if he stayed invisible forever? Tom decided to go back to the laboratory to look for an antidote. The campus was now full of security guards looking for the ghost. Local news reporters had arrived, and everyone was talking about the haunting at Manchester University. In the lab, Tom searched through all the cabinets for anything that might reverse the invisibility. He found many old formulas, but nothing labeled as an antidote. His invisible hands shook as he read through old research notes. Finally, in the same cabinet where he found the invisibility formula, Tom discovered another bottle. This one was labeled Visibility Restoration Formula. He almost cried with relief. But there was a problem. The bottle was nearly empty, with only a few drops left. Tom carefully poured the remaining drops into a beaker. It would have to be enough. He drank it and waited. 1 minute passed, then 2, then 5. Nothing happened. Tom began to panic. Just then, Professor Williams entered the laboratory. "Who's there?" he called out, hearing Tom's heavy breathing. Tom stayed silent, but the professor noticed equipment moving by itself. "I know someone is here," the professor said calmly. To Tom's surprise, Professor Williams smiled. "You found my grandfather's formula, didn't you?" he said to the empty room. He was a brilliant chemist who created that invisibility potion 50 years ago, but he could never perfect the antidote. Tom gasped, and the professor nodded. "Yes, I can hear you. Don't worry, the effect will wear off naturally. It just takes about 24 hours. My grandfather learned that the hard way. He was invisible for a whole day and caused quite a commotion in London." The professor continued. "The restoration formula you found doesn't work immediately. It just speeds up the process. You should be visible again in about an hour. Why don't you tell me who you are?" "It's Tom Harrison, Professor," Tom said quietly. "I'm in your organic chemistry class. I'm so sorry for all the trouble I've caused." Professor Williams laughed. "Tom, I should have guessed. You're always so curious in class, even if you don't speak up much. Well, you've certainly made yourself noticed today, even while invisible." The professor helped Tom wait out the remaining time. He told stories about his grandfather's experiments and the chaos they caused. He once went to a football match while invisible, the professor said. He couldn't resist kicking the ball during the game. The players thought the ball was possessed. Slowly, Tom began to see a faint outline of his hands. The formula was wearing off. Within an hour, he was completely visible again. He had never been so happy to see himself. "Thank you, Professor," Tom said gratefully. "I promise I'll never touch unknown chemicals again." Professor Williams smiled. "Well, I hope you've learned a valuable lesson about laboratory safety. But I must admit, you've shown the true spirit of scientific curiosity. How about becoming my research assistant? We could work on creating a proper antidote together." Tom couldn't believe it. His misadventure had led to an amazing opportunity. "I would love that, Professor." The next day, the university newspaper ran the headline, "Mystery of Campus Ghost Solved. Students' Chemistry Experiment Gone Wrong." Tom had to give a safety presentation to the entire chemistry department about the importance of not testing unknown substances. Jake eventually forgave Tom for the scare, though he made Tom promise never to turn invisible in their room again. The floating sandwich video went viral, and Tom became known as the invisible student around campus. From that day forward, Tom was never overlooked in class again. Professor Williams made sure to call on him often, joking that he wanted to make sure Tom was still visible. Tom learned that sometimes being noticed wasn't about being loud or outgoing. Sometimes it just took a little chemistry. The invisibility formula was locked away in a secure cabinet with a new label that read, "Extremely dangerous. Do not touch under any circumstances. This means you." Tom helped Professor Williams write a detailed research paper about the formula, though they kept the exact recipe secret. Years later, when Tom became a chemistry professor himself, he would tell his students about his invisible day. Remember, he would always conclude, "In science, curiosity is important, but safety comes first. And if you ever find a mysterious formula in an old cabinet, please come talk to me before drinking it." His students would laugh, thinking it was just a funny story to teach them about laboratory safety. But Tom would smile, remembering the day he learned that being invisible wasn't as fantastic as it seemed, and that sometimes the best discoveries come from our biggest mistakes.